Welcome back. We are talking with Steve Hindle today, security and operational resilience. Steve, great second segment there, as well as the first. Lots of interesting viewpoints here. So my next question for you is, there are a lot of articles that I've come across recently that identify the three pillars of cybersecurity: people, processes, and technology. Which comes first? Which I got a feeling I know what the most important is. But which comes first? How do you bring that all together?
Okay, it's easy for me to answer that in brief and say people, right? I mean, we've talked all around this. The people, everything has to be built around your people, your customers or your employees, or your customers and your employees. And then obviously the relationships that you make all around that. If we talk about resilience in its broadest sense, the ability to keep the lights on in the event of some incident, whatever that may be, right? Operationally, keeping the wheels turning, keeping your product active, keeping your revenue flowing, keeping your people in work. If we think about COVID-19, right? Lots of rifts, lots of people downsizing, all this kind of stuff. But keeping the lights on, keeping your people going, keeping your operational capabilities in play, people should take your first standpoint. However, if you don't have robust processes that are inherently focused around your operational pillars and your people, then the process will start to fall apart. This is why planning, preparation, and testing is an integral part of any BCP, integral part of any resilience program. It's all well and good to plan it, right? Plan, do, check, act, right? All well and good to plan. But most people miss the testing of those plans. They miss the inherent pieces of, okay, well, we think we're prepared for ransomware because we've bought this wonderful technology and we have a plan for if we get hit. Great. Are you testing it? When was the last time you tested it? Or you can turn around from a BCP perspective and think, well, natural hazards, disasters, power loss, we've got generators, we've got backups, we've got UPS. All of that means we can keep the lights on. Really? Yeah. You test your generators? Absolutely, we do. Well, we had an issue in the organization I worked for where we did generator testing at least once a year, sometimes every 6 months, depending on client contract. Tested our generators, fired them up, checked the fuel levels, made sure the UPS batteries were all functioning. Did we do load testing? No. We were a 24/7 shop, and the operational management of that organization would not allow us to cut the power because we were 24/7. We had to service the needs of our clients 24 hours a day, and we had SLAs, uptimes, and metrics that we had to accommodate. So when we had a power outage at one of our facilities, generator had been tested literally months before. We knew it worked. We knew everything functioned. UPS batteries had been checked. We knew they worked, everything fine. The power failed. The generator kicked on. Everybody thought it was going to be fine. The lights were still on, computers were still running, people were still working. What they didn't realize was we were just running on battery. The breaker, the cutover from the generator, from mains to generator power hadn't flipped. Generator was running, but we were just draining those UPS batteries completely flat. And then when the UPS batteries completely died, all the lights went off. But the generator was sat there and it was happily running away, just like it had been tested, right? Are you testing your plans? Are you testing them appropriately and effectively, right? That's the key piece. It's the same for anything. Ransomware, business continuity, civil unrest, right? Natural hazards and disasters. Test those plans to the nth degree and make sure they're resilient. Make sure they stand up to the stresses of those tests. I mean, it seems natural, right? It seems pretty inherent. But if you take it from that generator example that I just gave you, you can sit down around a table and go, okay, yes, that's fine. So we've just been hit by ransomware. We've got some files that are encrypted over here. That's fine. I'm going to hit contain on my little nice silver bullet EDR platform over here that's going to contain the threat. I'm going to hit that contain button. Everything's fine, right? Now we're going to just talk to our lawyers about the data that's there. Okay, that's great. Tick in the box. Ransomware plan tested, tabletop complete. Feedback. What's the feedback? What are the lessons learned? Lessons learned. It all went great. It was fantastic. No problem. We're going to handle this absolutely fine. Until such time as you do get hit and you find it's not just one machine over there. and your antivirus, your EDR, your endpoint detection response tooling perhaps has got something that's fallen out of sync. Definitions aren't quite up to date, hasn't quite secured that area. You push that contain button, it doesn't. And then it starts creeping across your environment. Well, now you're in the United States, you're all around the table, you're all on a bridge, but the ransomware is creeping across India and India's all asleep and you can't get them on the phone because maybe the telephony infrastructure isn't quite there. All of these things can fall apart unless you test them. So the process has to accommodate that. It has to be resilient enough to pivot on a dime should the unexpected happen. And if you don't have process that's capable of being agile, that is capable of adapting to the changes in the environment in your response plans, you won't find that out unless you test them. So the people and the processes have to tie together.
It's kind of like people are or have a lot of assumptions about different events, technologies, processes. Those assumptions find their way into processes when they're being developed and even being tested. And then assumptions are made about technology. Using your example, the generator will kick in and will do X, Y, and Z. And before you know it, everything seems to be built on assumptions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The reason I paused and didn't jump in straight away there is there's nothing I can say. There's no counter to that. There's no counter at all. It has to be the key word is resilience, right? It has to be resilient. It has to stand up to the unexpected. That's why I love the title of your podcast, Alex. I think it's truly, it sums up resilience in and of itself. You're not preparing for what you expect. You're preparing for what is unexpected in that event, in that technology, in that people, in that process. But it has to be accessible. It has to be able to accommodate different types of people, just like it has to accommodate different types of technology, on-prem, infrastructure, cloud-based infrastructure, whatever it may be. If you're not adaptable and accessible, I was chatting a few days ago with an individual who is so passionate, Justin Merhoff. He is so passionate about accessibility. He has made it his mantra and his brand now is accessibility. And we were talking about business continuity. I mentioned you, and I mentioned James because James, ages and ages ago, we did a talk. 2018, we did a talk that was about active shooter and workplace violence. And we spoke with top tier organizations, Fortune 100 organizations in this forum here at the Buccaneers Stadium. And we delivered this as part of United Healthcare Global's resilience aspect. And we were talking about workplace violence and crisis management. And James spoke about it in a way that shocked people in the audience because he talked about, the three tenets of run, hide, fight, for active shooter response. But how does that apply to someone in a wheelchair? Where's your run, hide, fight then? How does it apply to 70-year-old Bob who is in accounting, who's not so good on his feet? Right? How does that apply to one of the ladies that may be pregnant, maybe she's just a few weeks away from her maternity leave, and what? You run, hide, fight, especially the fight part, you're expecting that. That's part of your plan. How do you make your plans accessible to everybody? Your security awareness training people how to respond to these events like phishing, how to recognize them, all this kind of stuff. If you're delivering that training and you have employees that aren't necessarily capable of following those instructions or those training manuals or materials, perhaps they have ADHD, dyslexia. How do you tie all of that together? Through the technology, right? You have to make sure the technology is empowering your people, is making your people's lives easier. From a cybersecurity perspective, the reason I have an Iron Man logo above my head, and some people are starting to refer to me as the Iron Man CISO, is because I believe in Iron Man's approach to being a superhero. He's just a guy, but he's a guy that is empowered and made super by technology. He has a big brain, and he has billions of dollars, and he's handsome. Let's put those to one side. He's still just human. He's inherently human, but he's made super by technology. We can do that for our people. We can make them resilient through technology. We can make them super and security champions through technology, whether they're 70, whether they are heavily pregnant and about to go on maternity leave, whether they have learning difficulties or challenges in understanding the way that is neurodivergency, right? Technology can make all of that operational resilience come together. Does that help?
Yes. We only have, well, 2 minutes left. Any final thoughts on security and operational resilience?
I think as leaders in the field, or as practitioners in the field, let me take it away from leadership. Let me put it more into the practitioner side. As practitioners in cybersecurity and resilience, we should be inherently focused on making people's lives better, safer, more resilient through appropriate use of technology. There's no silver bullets out there, regardless of what the vendors will tell you. And if we're not making people's lives better through technology and process, we're failing in our roles, trying to drive operational resilience.
I think sometimes there's too much of a reliance on technology to give us all the answers instead of combining ourselves with technology. And I don't mean, robocall.
No, completely.
Like that.
Steve Hindle, brought to you today by ChatGPT, right? I mean, it's the nature of it.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and you've said the phrase a few times here, silver bullet. We get a piece of technology, that'll answer all our issues. And that's not the way to go. That's not going to create resilience in your organization. It's not going to help your people. Which is the key, as you've said quite a few times. And I think that's what some organizations are doing incorrectly. They're putting the technology before the people and thinking that the answers will be provided by technology rather than the people.
100%. Science fiction authors have been warning us about this for the best part of 100 years, have been saying that technology will be mankind's downfall if we don't use it appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hollywood movies, at least there's a blockbuster every year that has something like that.
100%.
What was the one that made the headlines just a little while ago, and it was from the 80s? War Games.
Oh, War Games, yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
But see, now I'm dating myself.
It's not the years, it's the mileage, Alex. That's what we'll leave it as.
Steve, it's been great chatting with you.
My
I really
pleasure.
enjoyed having you here today and talking about all these different aspects and different ways of looking at operational resilience. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure entirely. Be more Iron Man. That's my takeaway message.
I'll try. I don't think I look as good as he does, but I'll try.
Appreciate you, Alex. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Steve, and everyone watching and listening. Stay prepared, everybody. If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.